Okay. Do you think cryptocurrency may become the main currency in the world one day? So, where do you think we're headed in
Mm,
terms of the role of currency, the
mm.
structure, type of currency in the world?
I definitely expect fiat currencies to continue to exist and continue to be strong, and I definitely expect kind of fiat currencies to also digitize in their own way over the next couple of decades.
What's fiat currency, by the way?
Oh,
Just
just like things like US dollars and like dollars and euros and yen and these other things.
and they're sort of backed by governments.
Yes. But I also expect cryptocurrencies to play this kind of important role in just making sure that people always have an alternative if fiat currencies start breaking. So like if you're in some kind of very high inflation place like Venezuela, for example, or if your country just kind of gets cut off from other financial systems because of like something the banks do. Like if there's even like some major trade disruption or something worse happens, then like cryptocurrencies are the sort of thing that just because of their kind of global neutrality, they're just kind of always there and you can keep using them.
It's interesting that you're quite humble about the possibilities of the future of cryptocurrency.
Hmm.
You don't think there's a possible future where
Mm,
it becomes the main set of currency because it
I.
feels like fiat. It feels like
Mhm.
the centralized control by governments of currency is limiting somehow. Maybe in
Mhm.
my naive
Yeah.
utopian view of the world.
It's definitely very possible. I mean, I think like for cryptocurrencies being the main form of value to kind of work well, like you do need to have some much more price stability than they have today. And I mean, there are now stable coins, and there are kind of cryptocurrencies that try to be more stable than the existing things like Bitcoin and Ether. But I mean, that just is, I, to me, the kind of the main challenge.
Do you think that's a characteristic of this just being the early days? It's such young concept. 10 years is nothing in the history of money.
Yeah, and I think it's a combination of two things, right? One is it's still early days, but the other is a kind of more durable any kind of economic problem, which is that like demand for currency is volatile, right? Because of like recessions, booms, changes to technology, lots of things, and if people's demand for how much currency they want to hold changes. And if you have a currency that has a fixed supply, then the change in demand has to be entirely expressed as a change in value of the currency.
Hmm.
And so what that means is that kind of the volatility of demand becomes entirely translated into volatility in kind of prices of things denominated in that currency. But if you have a currency where instead the supply can change and so the supply can kind of go up when there's more demand, then you have the supply kind of absorbing more of that volatility, and so the price of the currency would absorb less of the volatility.
On that topic, so Bitcoin does have a limited supply, a specific
Mhm.
fixed supply.
Yes.
What's the idea? And Ethereum doesn't. But can you clarify?
Mm-hmm.
Just on the comment you just made, is Ethereum qualify to the kind of currency that you're talking about and being flexible in the supply?
And it's a bit more flexible, but kind of the thing that you would really want is something that's kind of specifically flexible in response to how valuable the currency is. And and I'd recommend to look at stable coins as well. So like things like DAI, for example. It's and like
How do you spell that?
DAI.
And what's stable coins? Is it a type of cryptocurrency?
It is a type of cryptocurrency. It's a type of cryptocurrency that's issued by a smart contract, one of these Ethereum computer programs that where the smart contract holds a bunch of ether and then basically like that people deposit, and then it issues DAI, and the reason why people deposit is because they want to kind of go high leverage on their ether. And so it kind of pairs these two sets of users, one that wants stability and one that kind of wants extra risk together with each other. And it basically creates some or gives one set of participants a guarantee that they'll be that they have this asset that can be later converted back into ether, but and like specifically at kind of the $1 rate.
And it has some kind of stabilizing network effects when they're
Yeah,
to
it
a
has
paired.
this. Yeah, it has many kinds of stabilizing mechanisms in it.
That's fascinating. Okay, this world is awesome technically.
Huh.
Just from a scientific perspective, it's an awesome
Mhm.
world that I often don't see from an outsider's perspective. What I
Mhm.
often see is kind of uh, maybe hype and a little
Mhm.
bit, if I may say so, like charlatanism.
Mhm.
And you don't often see, at least from my outsider's perspective, the beautiful science of it and the
Yeah.
engineering of it.
Mhm.
Maybe is there a comment you can make of who to follow, how to learn about this world without being interrupted by the charlatans and the hype people in this space?
I think you do need to just know the specific kind of just people to follow. Like there's all the kind of the cryptographers and the researchers, and then there's just like even just the Ethereum research crew, like myself, like Dankrad, Danny, Justin, and of the other people, and then and of the academic cryptographers, and I came like before this today, I was at Stanford, and Stanford has the Center for Blockchain Research, and of Dan Bonnet, that's kind of really famous and great cryptographer, is running it, and there's a lot of other people there, and there's people working on like zero knowledge proofs, for example, and Zuko from Zcash is kind of one other person that I kind of respect. So I think if you follow the
And
technical
just
people,
crawl along that.
yeah, you just kind
Start
of
with the
crawl.
Ethereum group and then look at the academics, Day Bonnet, and so on, and then
Yeah,
just cautiously expand the network of people you follow.
yeah, exactly. And like if someone seems too self promotional, then just
Yeah,
like
this
remove them.
is there books that are so there's these white papers, and we just discussed
Yeah,
about ideas being condensed into really small parts.
there
Is there
are.
books that are emerging that are kind of good introductory material for
So for
crypto?
historical ones, and there's like Nathaniel Popper's Digital Gold, which is just about the history of Bitcoin. There's like one, and then Matthew Lysing announced that there's one about the history of Ethereum. For technical ones, and there's Andreas Antonopoulos as Mastering Ethereum.
Great.